This icon of Mexican cinema survived the Nazis but not a broken heart. A bullfighter, the best comedian of Mexico, and even a president's son desired her. Her suicide remains a mystery. She had the world at her feet and a photo of the love of her life on her chest. But before I tell you why she died hugging a photo at the end of the video, let me introduce you to the 6 actresses who define Mexican cinema. Did you know that this exotic goddess Dolores del Rio married Cedric Gibbons? Yes, you heard that right. The man who designed the Oscar statuette and commissioned George Stanley to sculpt it. On top of that, he was one of the 36 founding members of the Academy that awards the Oscars. And if that wasn't enough, Dolores del Rio also had a torrid romance with Orson Welles. And he was captivated by her because of the movie you are watching right now on screen. And Dolores del Rio starred in Maria Candelaria, the first Mexican film to win the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival in 1946. By the way, this scene was filmed in Lago de Xochimilco, a lake with canals in Mexico City where you can travel on a kind of gondola like in Venice and drink beer and eat. If Dolores del Rio was the princess of Mexican cinema, Maria Felix was the warrior queen who challenged the patriarchy. Maria Felix didn't play the victim or the long-suffering woman. In the film Doña Bárbara, for example, she played a savage, authoritarian landowner who becomes cruel and uses her power to take revenge on men, because as a child, some heartless men abused her. It is as if Scarlett O'Hara had turned evil and lived on the plains. Did you know that in 1966, while she was visiting Paris, she visited Cartier's house and commissioned a diamond-covered snake necklace? Cartier took 2 years to make this 56 centimeters long snake. And in 1975, Maria Felix walked around with a small crocodile and asked Cartier for a piece of jewelry in the shape of the animal. Today, the original necklace is part of the Cartier collection because before the actress died, Cartier bought the jewels for 20 million euros to add them to their archive. The famous Mexican singer and composer Agustin Lara immortalized Maria Felix with the song Maria Bonita, composed in Acapulco during their honeymoon. The Mexican actress I am going to tell you about not only played in one of the most censored and controversial films in history, but also in a film that was one of the biggest trolls in history, carried out by the director Luis Buñuel right in the face of the dictator Franco. It's 1961, Spain is living under a Catholic conservative dictatorship that controls every frame that gets filmed. Luis Buñuel, exiled in Mexico and hated by the regime in Spain, receives an unexpected invitation. The Spanish government, seeking to improve its international image, allows him to return to make a film. Buñuel accepts, submitting a seemingly harmless script about a novice who leaves the convent. And the censors, trusting him, gave him the green light. They didn't know they were letting the wolf into the hen house. Buñuel shot the film Viridiana with absolute freedom, hiding his true intentions in every scene. The protagonist is the actress Silvia Pinal. She was the only actress to star in 3 Luis Buñuel films in Mexico, El Ángel Exterminador y Simón del Desierto. The film is a frontal attack on Christian charity and the bourgeoisie. The climax comes in the famous beggar's dinner scene as Handel's Hallelujah plays. A group of vagrants and outcasts stage an orgy of food and violence. At one point, they freeze for a frame, creating an exact and blasphemous recreation of Da Vinci's Last Supper, with drunk beggars instead of the apostles. Buñuel's plan was masterful. He finished the film, put the reels in his car, and crossed the border into France just before the censors could see the final cut. When the film was shown at the Cannes Film Festival, the impact was like an earthquake. The Vatican published a fierce critique, calling it blasphemous and disgusting. Franco's reaction was immediate. He ordered the total destruction of all copies and banned any mention of it in the Spanish press. Viridiana was erased from its own country for 16 years until the dictator's death. Lupe Vélez was the first Mexican actress to star in a musical comedy on Broadway and in Hollywood. She was so beautiful that even Tarzan, Johnny Weissmuller, left the jungle to marry her. She had the most theatrical suicide in Hollywood because after she became pregnant by an Austrian actor Harald Ramond, he refused to marry her. On the morning of December 14, 1944, Vélez retired to her bedroom where she consumed 75 pills and a glass of brandy. Her secretary Kinder said that she found the actress' body on her bed later that morning. A suicide note addressed to Harald was found nearby. Days later, a funeral was held in Los Angeles. Among the pallbearers were Johnny Weissmuller and Gilbert Roland. After that, her body was sent to Mexico City, and now her body rests in the Panteón Dolores Cemetery, the largest one in Latin America. In this film, Women's Prison, Cárcel de Mujeres, two of the most important actresses of Mexican cinema star. Angelina Campos, played by the actress Miroslava Stern, the wife of a politician, enters prison accused of the homicide of Alberto, a man who was once her boyfriend and tried to blackmail her. Now I am going to tell you about the actress Katy Jurado, who plays one of the inmates. Despite her rudimentary English, her strong performance brought her to the attention of Hollywood producer Stanley Kramer, who cast her in the classic western High Noon of 1952. Starring Gary Cooper and Grace Kelly, Katy Jurado won a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress and gained notice in the American movie industry. In 1954, for Broken Lands, she made history as the first Mexican actress and Latin American actress to be nominated in the Oscar. The actress Elsa Aguirre, one of the most beautiful actresses in Mexico, deserves a special mention because she is one of the few actresses from the golden age of Mexican cinema who are still alive. She was Jorge Negrete's girlfriend before he married Maria Felix. Now I am going to introduce you to the Mexican actress who died holding a portrait. It's one of the darkest and most cinematic chapters of Mexico in the 50s. But before telling you about her tragic end, I will tell you about her life. Miroslava Stern never managed to overcome the terror of fleeing the Nazis as a child in Czechoslovakia. Once settled in Mexico and pursuing a career as an actress, she suffered several romantic disappointments. At the academy, she met Jesus Jaime Obregón, who was the nephew of Presidente Álvaro Obregón, and they began a romantic relationship and got married. But shortly after the wedding, Miroslava found her husband having relations with another man, discovering that she had been used for a sham marriage. But the Obregón family was wealthy and had the power to protect their nephew from that scandal. And as if that weren't enough, Miroslava fell in love with none other than the actor Mario Moreno Cantinflas, the most famous comedy actor in Mexico. Shortly after, she met the bullfighter Luis Miguel Dominguín and began a brief affair with him. But one day, the unexpected happened. The actress's housekeeper arrived at the actress' house and knocked insistently on her bedroom door. But she didn't answer, so she thought she was asleep. An hour later, she knocked on the door again and there was no response. Then she called Dr. Stern, but he was in Cuernavaca, so she decided to call the actress Ninon Sevilla, one of Miroslava's best friends. Then, the two forced the door open and what they found left them frozen. Miroslava's body lay on the bed. Ninon approached and saw that there were 3 letters next to her. One letter addressed to her father, a second to her brother written in Czech, and a third to her lawyer Eduardo giving details of her deaths. Regarding the photograph that she had on her bed, the testimonies vary greatly, since her housekeeper reports. In her right hand, she had a photograph of that Spaniard who they say is a bullfighter. Although the actress's body had been in her room for more than 30 hours, the forensic doctor did not perform the required autopsy. Remains of barbiturates were found, so the doctor assumed suicide. Please tell me which of these actresses fascinated you the most. Here is the complete guide to Mexican movies you have to see, and a video about Hollywood movies filmed in Mexico. The last movie you won't expect.